Very good evening to one and all present here. My name is Diya Dasgupta, and I've secured an All India rank of 207 in the UPSC CSE 2023 examination. I hope that I am audible to one and all present here. At the very onset, I'd like to give a brief introduction about myself, other than my name and my rank. So I graduated from National Law University, Odisha, and I completed my BA LLB degree honors from NLU Odisha. For that, I had to write CLAT, and I was very keen on one fact and one aspect and that was very clear for me in my 11th and 12th grade itself, that I really wanted to become a lawyer before anything else. Hence, I wrote CLAT and I got through CLAT and I was allotted NLU Odisha as my college. Thereafter, during the 5 years of my law school, there wasn't at least in the first 3 years of my law school, there wasn't any imminent motivation or imminent urge to, pursue the civil services, but something changed along the lines, and I'll tell you what. क्या हुआ था कि I think that was the fourth year of my law school, the end of my fourth year. So law school, when you do it right after your high school, you do it for 5 years. You have 10 semesters in law school. So ये शायद से 8th semester की बात है. हमारे कॉलेज में पानी खत्म हो गया था, कॉलेज नहीं, गर्ल्स हॉस्टल में पानी खत्म हो गया था फॉर द सम वाटर क्राइसिस सिचुएशन व्हिच इज गोइंग ऑन, एंड वी girls had to go all the way from the girls hostel to the boys hostel and fetch water from there, and there was no lift in the girls hostel, and my room was in the fourth floor, and so I had to take the water, climb up all the flights of stairs till the fourth floor and store the water in my room. तो उस टाइम पे मैंने ना क्या किया, उड़ीसा में वाटर क्राइसिस के बारे में थोड़ा पढ़ने का कोशिश किया, एंड आई जस्ट स्टार्टेड गूगलिंग इट, एंड आई फाउंड आउट at the then DM of the Mayurbhanj district at that point in time, through his ingenuity and his innovative thinking, had facilitated the supply of water in a village which did not even have electricity. Now that was a remarkable feat. Imagine the amount of creativity that goes into it. आपने ऐसा feat बनाया through which एक village जहाँ पे electricity नहीं है, वहाँ पे पानी का supply आपने facilitate कर दिया just by following normal laws of physics, and that gave me the motivation to imagine the immense potential that this job can have. That was almost the end of my fourth year of law school. And by the time I was in my 10th semester, I knew that I really wanted to pursue the civil services, because of which मेरे को एक प्री प्लेसमेंट ऑफर बोलते हैं कॉलेज में, पीपीओ भी मिला था फ्रॉम वन ऑफ द टियर 1 law firms, and I had to turn it down because by the time I got the offer, in my mind I was mentally prepared that I want to pursue the civil services. This was in late 2018. 2019 I started my preparation, and 2019 was my first attempt. 2019 I could not clear prelims by a margin of 5-6 marks. I knew that I had it in me, so I started preparing again. And then I had very poignantly chosen you know it's a very common question I get. I'm a lawyer by training, but my optional was political science and international relations. So बहुत क्लियर कट डिसीजन था वो भी मेरे लिए, बिकॉज आई हैड स्टडीड BLLB, so I had already studied a lot of political science topics in law school itself. I was also very interested in international relations because school college में मैंने बहुत सारा MUN competitions कर रखा था. So overall it was a clear cut choice for me that I wanted to study and at least take up political science international relations PSIR as my optional. And then in 2020, which was the COVID year, that was my second attempt, and I cleared prelims, I cleared mains, and I went up till the interview stage. And unfortunately, that was my second attempt. I went up till the interview stage. Where I could not find my name in the final list, and those time prelims were just 5 days away. That was one of the biggest, a wrong decision that I had made, because I had taken that year's 2021 prelims, and I ideally should not have taken up that prelims, primarily because if you feel that prelims is a challenging area for yourself, then without adequate preparation, जैसे मेरे को लगता है, आज तक मेरे को ये लगता है, out of the 3 stages of the exam, prelims is the trickiest and the most challenging stage of the exam. So I should not have ideally taken prelims there, and that was the only year जहाँ पे in between, when I was working hard for prelims, but वो नहीं हो पाया था because of just 3 days. Then 2022, the I had cleared the general cutoff in the GS prelims by about 12 marks. My score was somewhere around 100 that year. The cutoff was 88, but I missed out because of CSAT. By just 2 marks, so I had gotten 64 instead of getting 66. So उस year 2022 में prelims रुक गया, and then finally in 2023, and that was another year because there was a pressure from family. My family does not come from a civil services background, and then they all parents look out for our interests, right? So they were also very keen and telling me that okay, now you should transition back to law. But then I had faith in myself. My parents also had faith in what I believed, and hence I took another attempt. Alongside that, 2023 attempt was a very crucial year in my life because I completed my LLM, that is Masters in Law from Jindal Global Law School. And alongside that, I was also working because I'll talk about the importance of Plan B. Especially after you've given 2 to 3 attempts, Plan B becomes extremely important in order to have sanity, in order to be, calm and शांति रख के आप एग्जाम कर पाओ, आप पढ़ाई कर पाओ, उसके लिए आई थिंक प्लान बी इज इम्पोर्टेंट एंड आई विल बी टॉकिंग अबाउट प्लान बी. सो ओवरऑल दिस वाज 2023 was a very hectic year because as I said मैं masters कर रही थी. Alongside that I was working in order to support myself financially. I was working at the Center for Child in Law, which is a research center housed in National Law School Bangalore, and alongside that I was also writing my exam. So overall this was my last year, and then by God's grace and hard work and blessings of parents and others, all other well wishers have secured All India Rank 207. So, this was briefly about my UPSC journey that I wanted to talk to you about. So, overall, this was my fourth proper attempt that I had done, and if you account that one attempt where I just had just 5 days to study, so it was my official fifth attempt. But the fourth attempt that I had studied the way you're supposed to study for this exam and write it, right? So overall, this is what I had to tell about myself and my UPSC journey. I was given a list of questions which I should be perhaps throwing light upon. जो शायद से जनरल पॉपुलेशन के पास यही सारे क्वेरीज रहते हैं, एंड आई ट्राई टू एड्रेस दोस क्वेरीज. एंड अलोंगसाइड दैट आई एनकरेज ऑल ऑफ यू, अगर आपको कोई डाउट है किसी भी एरिया में, स्पेशली दैट अभी 5-6 दिन में प्रीलिम्स हैं, प्लीज फील फ्री टू ड्रॉप इन क्वेश्चंस हियर सो दैट आई कैन टेक अप दोस क्वेश्चंस एंड क्लैरिफाई दोस डाउट्स फॉर यू. Right. So before we go ahead, there are a few questions which have already come in the comment section. The first question is, आपको motivation कहाँ से मिला था, ma'am? So as I told you, my motivation was not any one specific person, but it was a pure incident related motivation. And मेरे कुछ दोस्त college में भी prepare कर रहे थे exam के लिए. So I think peer group, having a very good peer group helps a lot, to succeed in life. And मेरे को लगता है कि काफी हद तक मेरे दोस्तों ने, मेरे peer group ने मेरे life के major important decisions को influence कर रखा है positively, that is. So I think overall that is one area. So no one fixed source of motivation, but as I told you, I narrated an incident that had happened at law school, and that was one of the fueling factors for me to look up what civil services is and what is the potential that it harbingers, and what's the potential that it can have for an individual, for the society at large. PYQ कैसे एनालाइज करना चाहिए, मैम? PYQ एनालिसिस, लेट्स टॉक अबाउट प्रीलिम्स PYQ एनालिसिस. सो मैंने क्या किया था, लास्ट 13 years के क्वेश्चन पेपर्स उठा लिए थे, एंड अगेंस्ट एवरी क्वेश्चन आई रेड एवरी क्वेश्चन, एंड अगेंस्ट एवरी क्वेश्चन आई हैड लेजिटली रिटन डाउन द सब्जेक्ट एरिया एंड द थीम दैट द क्वेश्चन केम फ्रॉम. उसके बाद मैंने लिटरली काउंटिंग किया था कि हर एक सब्जेक्ट एरिया से कितने क्वेश्चन आ रहे हैं. फ्रॉम दैट इट वाज अ वेरी क्लियर एनालिसिस दैट economy, environment and polity have the maximum number of questions that are coming for prelims. Then for every subject area, which were the sub themes from which questions were coming. For instance, in polity बहुत सारे questions parliament chapter से आते हैं, fundamental rights, directive principles of state policy and preamble से questions आते हैं, right? So मैंने वो लिख के रखा था. So for every subject I knew which were the most important areas that I was supposed to focus on, and based on the questions, जो content static book में वो तो है, एंड अदर देन दैट उन्होंने कैसे क्वेश्चन फ्रेम किया था, तो मैंने वो फिगर आउट कर लिया था कि व्हाट शुड बी द फॉरवर्ड रिसर्च कि इसके बाद और क्या पूछ सकते हैं. जैसे in certain of my talks I've given this example. I feel that groundwater is an important sub theme under the broad theme of environment, under the broad subject area of environment. I think groundwater is a theme jahan se har saal, at least legitly 2020 2019 onwards, you'll see there's at least one question or one statement based question on groundwater. So मेरा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी यहाँ पे क्या बन गया कि चलो ग्राउंड वाटर इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट सब थीम, तो मेरे को क्या करना है ग्राउंड वाटर के बेसिस पे और क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस है, व्हाट आर द अथॉरिटीज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर रेगुलेटिंग ग्राउंड वाटर, what is the permissible level of extraction of groundwater that is should be allowed. India is the highest extractor of groundwater, ये क्यों होता है reason, what are the ways in which groundwater extraction mitigation can be carried out, what are the water stressed areas in the country, what are the some of the water stressed areas around the world. ऐसे जो भी मेरे दिमाग से मैं समझ पा रही थी दैट आई कुड स्पेक्यूलेट कि चलो ग्राउंड वाटर पीए क्वेश्चंस हो सकता है, एंड स्टार्टेड researching on those questions and I jotted those notes down. So for every theme I personally made bullet points, and I made notes out of it. So this was prelims thematic analysis, and then same thing you do for mains thematic analysis. Take up your geography segment of GS1, for instance. Geography itself would have 4 to 5 divisions: economic geography, human geography, environmental geography, etc. And then you identify that chalo environmental geography mein se maybe there are questions on water being a resource that is being used, and the overexploitation of water resource is one question. In some way or the other it is coming every year. Maybe ocean resources के बारे में पूछ लेते हैं, maybe groundwater, maybe ice caps. Some way or the other, water is an intrinsic, or ocean resource or water resource is an important part from which questions are being asked, right? So this is how you need to figure out what is the thematics of both prelims and mains, and you have to make your notes accordingly, right? As I told you, this was my fifth attempt officially, and fourth where I could study properly. CSAT strategy. CSAT is, I understand prelims is just 6 days away. I think CSAT is one of the game changers nowadays, right? So CSAT में मेरा clear cut strategy ये था that I knew that I was good at reading comprehension, and if not excellent at maths, I was decent at quants. But that was before 2023 का paper came up, right? At that point in time, I realized how much my game in the specific quants area has to be improved, है ना? So with respect to reading comprehension, I mainly relied upon the UPSC PYQs itself, and I tried to time my reading comprehension passages. So मेरा target ये रहता था कि hypothetically maybe in 10 minutes I should do 6 reading comprehension questions very accurately, so that maybe only one of them is wrong. So accuracy within a compressed time frame in reading comprehensions, that was my strategy. With respect to quants, I watched some YouTube lectures of important chapters like number system, probability, permutation, combination, because these are the most recurring number of questions are being asked from these areas, right? The next thing that I did, YouTube. I made extensive use of YouTube. YouTube में ना playlists बने हैं probability के questions पे, for instance, or any of these important questions which is of bank, PO or SSC level. So you just go and Google on YouTube. I mean not Google on YouTube. YouTube कर लेना search bar में that playlist on probability questions, bank, PO, SSC. ऐसे करके if you use these keywords, you will get playlists prepared. So you play those questions, pause when a question is popped up in front of your screen, solve it, and then you see the solution, see if it can be done in a faster way, and then you move ahead, right? So overall, this was my strategy for quants. I targeted in the 23 attempt that I wanted to attempt at least somewhere around 45 to 50 questions. Unfortunately, I could only attempt 20 questions overall. So थोड़ा सा तो डर लग ही गया था. So I had scored around 80 in CSAT, but I think now all of you guys would have practiced CSAT more extensively. Here I would just like to say one thing: CSAT ऐसा paper है, as like the GS paper, every question is equal marks. So if reading comprehension is a strength, first solve all the reading comprehension questions, then pick and choose the quant questions, right? Don't get stuck. For me, the limit was 120 seconds. If I'm stuck at any question for more than 120 seconds, I'll skip that question and I'll move ahead, because I need to pick out the easy questions in CSAT and solve them so that I can have more number of questions solved in my overall kitty, right? So this was overall my CSAT strategy, and I urge you guys to have a solid game plan with respect to CSAT before you go, and just don't go with the flow. For instance, अगर passages easy हैं तो you solve the passages, but don't be stringent on the fact कि passages ही पहले करना है, because हो सकता है कि इस बार passages difficult आ जाए. So if you're seeing the passages are quite difficult, then you have to have the presence of mind to quickly, switch on to and get to solving the quants and the reasoning parts of the paper. So be balanced in your approach, but yeah, so you should go in with, okay, this is my game plan A. That is, my game plan was first RCs and then quants. But in that exam, if I would have found that RCs were difficult, then I would have quickly switched to game plan B, which is pick and choose the easy quants questions and then go on to solving the reading comprehension questions subsequently. So have your strategy fixed up like this. Okay, how to write? Start essay writing practice. Very good question. I think essay ethics optional determines where you stand in the rank list. That's how it worked for me. I had an overall jump of about 70 marks from my last means to this means, right? So last year, in the 2020, my main score was around 750 or 743. This year it was 810. So the way you can boost up your main score is focusing on essay ethics and your optional paper immensely, because competitively in the general studies arena, everyone gets the same average में same marks. So if you're getting the same marks is good. How high you can find your name in the rank list depends upon your dexterity in essay ethics and optional, right? So about, let's say, ऐसे कैसे स्टार्ट करना है. हर एक संडे पिक आउट एन ऐसे जिसका डिस्कशन नो आपको यूट्यूब में मिल जाएगा. सो देर आर अ लॉट ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस विच हैव डन, दैट इज हाउ आई पिक्ड इट अप, राइट. देर आर लॉट ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशंस विच हैव डन PYQ एनालिसिस ऑफ ऐसे टॉपिक्स. सो पिक अप एनी वन ऑफ दोज ऐसे टॉपिक्स जिसका एनालिसिस इज डन ऑन यूट्यूब and write that essay in 1 hour 30 minutes. After you're done with your essay, go back to YouTube and watch the essay discussion of that YouTube channel. So what happens as a result of it is you're doing a very thorough self analysis of what you're doing, and self analysis is the best analysis, I feel, है ना. So this is how you do, and you start off your essay practice. How to handle science and tech and environment related questions. I'm assuming that you're not writing this particular, if you're writing the upcoming attempt, I know that you would have solved enough number of PYQs and enough number of mocks in order to get the hang ki SNT and environment questions kaise handle karna hai, right? So in case you're writing the next attempt for SNT, I would urge all of you to read up that Indian Express explained segment on science and tech related innovations. With respect to environment, I think more number of questions are coming from that, from the static, rather than the static part, more number of questions are coming from current affairs perspective, right? So in the current affairs perspective, I would urge you all to आइडेंटिफाई थीमेटिक वे में कि कौन से इंटरनेशनल एंड नेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस रिलेटेड टू एनवायरनमेंट पे क्वेश्चन ज्यादा आ रहे हैं. फॉर इंस्टेंस UNEP इज अ कॉमन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जहाँ से काफी क्वेश्चन आते हैं. WMO इज अनदर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. सो व्हाट इज माय ड्यूटी गोइंग टू बी? माय ड्यूटी इज गोइंग टू बी कि आई विल गो online and I'll go to the official website of UNEP and WMO or any other organization for that matter, and I'll click on the what's new tab. In that what's new tab, if you click on it, what happens as a result of it is very simple. You will see the recent things which that organization is doing, and often it has happened that maybe information from those areas would be picked up, right? Because those will be current affairs questions, right? So what you do is, this is one way in which you can prepare yourself in a very holistic way. Go to the original website and read from the original website. Yeah. Please share your timetable. Okay. So there were two timetables in my life. One was when I was preparing full time, which was the first attempt. I started working since 2020, late 2019. After my first failure at prelims, I had started working as a consultant, legal consultant with the Center for Child in Law. And so when I was preparing full time, I was an early riser. I used to wake up and I used to start studying by say 6:30, 7 o'clock, and then my study hours used to go until 10 o'clock in the night, after which I used to unwind for a while and go off to sleep. In between, there were 4 hours in the daytime that I used to give for my optional. After that, I used to take a little break and give about 2 to 3 hours for GS prelims, and then give 2 to 3 hours for the mains aspect of GS, the general studies 1, 2, 3, 4 papers for mains, right? So this is how roughly my entire day used to be divided. And when I had my office work, okay, for instance, last year was when I was working full time and I was also preparing for the exam and I was writing the exam actually when I was working. So the way I had divided my time was, तब मैं ना थोड़ा जल्दी उठ जाती थी, like about 4:30 or something, and I had a 9 to 5 job. So I used to wake up maybe at around by 4:30 I used to be at my study table. Till 8:30 I used to study as much as possible. My office was quite close to my accommodation, so it used to take like 5 minutes to get to office, right? So once I got to office, I used to take कुछ जो easy subjects होते हैं ना, I used to take that to my office. For instance, newspaper, essay, ethics was quite easy for me, so I used to take those to office. And when I used to read those was, for instance, lunchtime. सारे मेरे colleagues cafeteria जाते थे lunch खाने, but I used to eat lunch at my desk and I used to study simultaneously. So you have to figure out कि कैसे कैसे पढ़ाई हो सकती है, and I had a very good team also. So they also supported me. Then I used to be back by 6 o'clock till 6:45 or 6:30. I used to take a nap. Till 6:45, 7 tak I used to start studying again. So 7 to 7:30, 7 to 10:30, 11 tak I used to pull one other shift, and then again at 4:30 to 8:30. So this was my timetable. ओके, मेरा फर्स्ट 2025 अटेम्प्ट है सिलेबस कैसे कवर करूँ. आई थिंक वन ऑफ द बेस्ट वेज इन बीइंग एबल टू कवर syllabus is take up any test series, and in the way they are scheduling your prelims and mains test, try to follow that schedule. And overall, I think in this way you would have finished a number of rounds of revisions also. स्टडी में कंसिस्टेंसी कैसे बनाए रखना है. स्टडी में कंसिस्टेंसी, आई थिंक इंस्टेड ऑफ स्टडिंग 16 hours one day and the next day taking a break completely, space out your study hours. To start with, you can start with 6 to 8 hours of study. 6 to 8 hours when you're comfortably completing it. And अगर दिक्कत होती है तो पोमोडोरो टेक्निक फॉलो कीजिए, जहाँ पे 25 minutes आप स्टडी करते हो, 5 minutes का ब्रेक मिलता है आपको. somehow or the other you try to have this consistency, and maybe you can reward yourself, right? So after, for instance, मैं क्या करती थी, संडे सेकंड हाफ वाज यूज्ड टू बी माय ब्रेक टाइम. तो वहाँ पे तो पूरे हफ्ते अच्छे से पढ़ लेती थी. देन संडे फ्रॉम समवेयर अराउंड 1:30 PM used to be completely free for me. Then I used to watch movies, go out, whatever I could possibly do to entertain myself, I used to do during that Sunday from 1:30 PM. So do something along those lines. I think if you have that reward perspective कि अच्छा अच्छे से काम अच्छे से पढ़ाई कर लिया तो फिर Sunday half day छुट्टी मिलेगा, I can do something good. If you have that kind of a technique in your mind, I think it will work out really well. Yep. Okay, daily study schedule कैसा रहता था? I've talked about it. My optional subject, there's a question. My optional subject was PSI, Political Science and International Relations. Job के साथ कैसे manage करें, ma'am? And I told you, right? So it's not impossible. The first thing that has to be told, you know, कुछ reality checks होते हैं. There are certain jobs which are extremely hectic. For instance, I knew that if I would have joined a premier law firm in the country, जहाँ पे कभी-कभी work का 16 hours से 12 to 16 hours vary कर जाता है, तो I would not have been able to prepare and even write the exam alongside that job. So this job was a good 8 hours, 9 to 5 job for me. So I knew that, okay, it is manageable. Number one, reality check. Number two, delete that notion from your head that you can't do it. I'm very well of the notion and believe that if you put your mind to something, you have to just take a decision, and then it's up to you how do you make the decision the right decision, है ना? So you take up that decision, and subsequently what you have to do is manage time, and manage time very ruthlessly. You have to tell no to a lot of things. For instance, last एक साल में there hardly I slept for 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours on a daily basis, शायद उससे भी कम, because other than the study element and working element, there was also a stress element in your mind, right? When you work this hard, you always expect कि हाँ काश it fructifies. So all of that has to be accounted for. So just be very conscious of how you use your time, especially if you're working and you're preparing, right? But my sincere suggestion is, first 1 or 2 attempts that you do, if possible, if economically feasible, try to do it full time. After that, after if you've studied for 1 year in a very thorough way, then I am very sure कि subsequent attempts में you can do a part-time job, you can do a consultancy job, or you can do a 9 to 5 job also, and then simultaneously write the exam and prepare for it. Right? Next question was interview experience. My interview experience was really good. This was my second interview, and however, the goodness of the experience not necessarily that it translates into marks. That is what I felt. I did not score very well in interview. It was an average score, but then overall, I felt that they were very. So because my optional was law, sorry, my I'm a lawyer by training. My optional was PSIR, and I had done my masters in a subject called dispute resolution. So it was a very diverse area from which the panelists kept asking questions. There were zero questions from my DAF. So most of the questions were from law. आपने dispute resolution as a subject in your LLM means that you have to do and study a lot about arbitration, investment arbitration, commercial arbitration. So they asked me a lot of questions on arbitration in India. They asked me questions on performance of legal aid clinics and law, different branches in India. उन्होंने मेरे को सुप्रीम कोर्ट के रीसेंट जजमेंट्स के बारे में पूछा था. Then some of the questions were very abstract. For instance, this is one person, one of the panelists. I think he was an ambassador. He was a retired ambassador, and one of his missions was in Iraq during the Iraq war. And mind you, my interview was this year Jan. तो उस टाइम पे पूरे दुनिया में बहुत सारे वॉर्स चल रहे थे. तो ही गेव अ 3-minute monologue on about wars in general, and then and he talked about the Iraq war, what was happening at that time, and then he gave one statement at the end of it. तो उन्होंने बोला कि उस टाइम पे एक कोट किसी ने बोला था, I think it was Bush, but anyway, someone had said that the legality of the war is immoral, the morality of the war is illegal. So what do you have to say about it? So that was a very abstract kind of a question which was asked to me. So you have to be prepared to handle simple questions related to your study, graduation subject, some complicated questions related to the general studies aspect. At the same time, some very interesting and abstract question like the one that I just asked. I just narrated to you. And yes, so because my college was in Odisha and I'm from Bengal, Kolkata. So they had asked a question ki cultural similarities kya hai Odisha and Bengal ki. So here you can just bring in the most genuine answers that you possibly can. However, it was despite it being a very good experience, it did not translate into good marks. But I think that's a part and parcel of this entire UPSC journey. You just got to roll with it, right? Okay. And then the next question was the mock interview, UPSC interview में क्या difference होता है? Now there can be a lot of similarities because आप mock interviews देते हो content थोड़ा बहुत filling the gap in the content that you have prepared for your interview. At the same time आप mock interviews देते हो ताकि आपका confidence build up हो, ताकि आप क्रिस्प मैनर में आंसर कर पाओ, ताकि आप एक पैनल को फेस कर पाओ विदाउट बीइंग नर्वस अबाउट इट. सो ओवरऑल दैट वाज माय एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ मॉक इंटरव्यूज, एंड आई थॉट दैट इट हेल्प्स सिग्निफिकेंटली इन योर एक्चुअल इंटरव्यू बिकॉज आपने एक पैनल को डिफरेंट पैनल्स को एटलीस्ट 3-4 बार फेस कर रखा है थ्रू योर मॉक इंटरव्यूज, इफ यू डन 3 to 4 मॉक इंटरव्यूज, एंड देन व्हेन यू वॉक इनटू द एक्चुअल इंटरव्यू it is much better an experience. You don't feel nervous, you don't feel, I mean, थोड़ा jittery feeling तो रहता ही है, but then overall you feel much calmer, है ना? Okay, next question. मैंने कोचिंग ज्वाइन करी पर चीज क्लियर नहीं हो रहा है, मुझे क्या करना चाहिए? पहली बात ये एक्सपेक्टेशन ना रखिए कि किसी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट के थ्रू से आपके सारे डाउट्स या फिर आपका ये जर्नी बहुत सिंपल हो जाएगा. आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज ट्रू. मेरे को ऐसा अपने पर्सनली ऐसा लगता है दैट coaching is definitely going to be something that aids your preparation, but it cannot be the determining accelerator of your preparation. Matlab, how fast you can complete your syllabus is not going to be determined by your coaching places. So if you've joined coaching, then if you cannot understand certain aspects, so please ask, ask them to clarify the doubts that you have. And for me in this arena, I think YouTube was a lifesaver. कोई भी concept, बीट माई टेस्ट सीरीज में या फिर किसी भी पढ़ते पढ़ते अगर कोई कॉन्सेप्ट मेरे को समझ नहीं आता था, आई यूज्ड टू गो टू यूट्यूब एंड जस्ट सिंपली राइट द क्वेश्चन, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग of hypothetically, this entire loan system of IMF, right? How does SDR work in IMF? And then the beautiful way in which they have these cartoons or animated videos of explanation of what these tricky concepts are. तो उससे बहुत easily concepts cleared हो जाते हैं. So whatever you can't understand from the help that you're referring to, I think go to YouTube and try to get your doubts clarified. But सेल्फ हेल्प इज द बेस्ट हेल्प, है ना? तो यहाँ पे ये आइडिया ही नहीं मेंटेन करना है अपने दिमाग में दैट समथिंग विल मैजिकली क्लिक इफ यू आर गोइंग टू अ कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट. नथिंग वर्क्स लाइक दैट. एंड I think having a good mentor is much more important that way. A mentor who tells you कि चलो ये नहीं पढ़ना है और ये पढ़ना है. For instance, newspaper कैसे पढ़ना है, right? So newspaper पे again, my personal belief is one should not spend, at least when you have when you are in the 4th month of your preparation. पहले 3-4 महीने में थोड़ा time लगता है to get used to newspapers, but after your 4th month, you should not spend more than 45 minutes. That's my strategy. I mean, I told myself every day I'm not going to spend more than 45 minutes in newspapers, and I'll talk to you about how to read newspapers effectively in 45 minutes, and maybe that can be a good help for you, right? So I'll get to that point also about newspaper reading. So overall, self-help is the best help. That's your tagline, that's your motto that I think you should have. Okay. करंट अफेयर्स और बेसिक का रेशियो कितना रखना चाहिए? सी, करंट अफेयर्स इज द गैप फिलर इन योर एंटायर प्रिपरेशन. बेसिक नॉलेज इज ऑफ पैरामाउंट इंपॉर्टेंस. उसके साथ आता है आपका वैल्यू एडिशन, एंड इक्वल वेटेज में आप करंट अफेयर्स करोगे. हर दिन न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना ही पढ़ना है, एंड देन उसके साथ साथ यू पिक अप एनी मंथली मैगजीन. इफ यू पॉसिबली कैन वॉच सम एनी वन चैनल का न्यूज एनालिसिस होता है. बहुत सारे लोगों को मैंने देखा है मे बी डेली चोर्स जो बोलते हैं ना, और इफ दे आर वॉकिंग or they just have their ears plugged in and they are listening to news analysis. I could not do that when I'm off UPSC and I'm off my study table. I'm actually off my study table. मैं jogging करते करते कभी news analysis नहीं देख पाती थी, और या फिर news analysis नहीं सुन पाती थी. But if you're one person who can manage to do that, then you can do that as well, है ना? So daily newspaper, one monthly magazine, and if one किसी भी एक करंट अफेयर्स चैनल का एनालिसिस देख लेना. एंड देन दिस स्ट्रैटेजी इवॉल्व्स, परहैप्स जब आप इंटरव्यू के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हो, फ्रॉम दैट वन न्यूज़पेपर यू हैव टू रीड 5 न्यूज़पेपर्स. तो दैट आल्सो समथिंग दैट विल बी डीलिंग इन the interview preparation aspect a little bit in a while. So overall, this is, I think, has answered your question. How to collect key facts, quotes, example for means for improving marks. तो यहाँ पे ना कुछ अनुदीप दूरी शेट्टी सर का जो ब्लॉग है, वहाँ पे ऐसे रिस्पेक्ट में बहुत सारी quotes already prepared है. So what I had done is I had downloaded his particular collection of quotations on different thematics. जैसे उन्होंने leadership पे quotes लिख के prepare करके रखा था, उन्होंने spirituality पे quotes prepare किया था. So I took that particular notes and made it my base material. Now when I say base material, I mean that हमको ये नहीं सोचना है कि वो notes काफी हैं, because then definitely not enough, है ना? क्योंकि the same notes will be accessible to 12 to 13 lakh people who are actually filling the forms, right? Or 15 lakh people who are filling the UPSC CSE forms. So what are we supposed to do? Topper notes should be basic material. On top of it, you have to improvise and bring in your quotations. So यहाँ पे I have also spoken about in different videos that I've done. For instance, अगर आप Instagram चलाते हो, तो आपको हमेशा आज towards and from today onwards have a change in perspective. कि अगर आप Instagram चला रहे हो और कोई अच्छा quotation आ गया, immediately screenshot लीजिए उस चीज का, and screenshot लेके अपने फोन का जो गैलरी होता है, फोटोज गैलरी, वहाँ पे ना फोल्डर्स बना लीजिए, जैसे ऐसे ethics, GS1, 2, 3, 4, and send those screenshots in the respective folders. For instance, Better India Initiative, okay, this is a very good website. तो मेरे इंस्टा में कभी-कभी पॉपअप होते रहता था, या फिर it used to come up when I used to do normal Google search etc. तो अगर कुछ important case study examples आ जाता था, I will take a screenshot of it and save it. Similarly, on Google itself, you can activate motivational quotes. Every day they will put up a motivational quote, and if it is relevant for you from the exam perspective, take a photo of that and put it in your folder, or write it down in the basic notes. This is how you build up and you improvise on the basic notes available, customize it and make it even better. And then revise it very frequently so that those quotes are at the, ऐसे होगा ना, there's an English saying that I know it like the back of my hand. That's how your fluency will be in that particular subject. So I think if you can do it in that way, it will be very good. Right. आपकी रिविजन स्ट्रेटजी कैसी रहती थी? ओके, विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू रिविजन्स, लेट्स से प्रीलिम्स रिवीजन 80 days आप आर देयर फॉर प्रीलिम्स, ऐसे टाइम पे मैं अपना प्रीलिम्स का रिवीजन स्टार्ट करती थी, एंड नो मैटर हाउ मेनी टाइम्स आई हैव रिवाइज्ड इट प्रीवियसली, बट 80 days इज वेयर द सीरियस काउंटिंग ऑफ राउंड्स कि मैंने कितना राउंड रिवीजन किया है किसी पेपर का, मैं वो देखती थी. तो उस 80 days में एटलीस्ट 4 to 5 rounds ऑफ रिवीजन टारगेट होता था फ्रॉम माई साइड. एंड माई लास्ट राउंड ऑफ रिवीजन, टुडे इज ट्यूसडे राइट, है ना? Yes. So my last round of revision for prelims, even last year भी यही किया था मैंने, Tuesday से start हुआ था. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is my last round of revision. इन 4 दिनों में whatever are the most important subjects and most important topics of the subjects, I used to revise it accordingly. And Saturday used to be a complete break day for me. If anything, I would just do CSAT के formulas and RC reading comprehension practice. Right? Okay, my optional, Mr. Saurav, is political science and international relations. Prelims 2023 was tough. Future में prelims कैसे prepare करें? I think thematic analysis is the most important aspect when it comes to prelims preparation, because once you know the thematics, even in last year 2023, you would have seen, अगर अच्छे से analyze करो तो thematic repetitions were there, and that continues to happen. There's no two ways. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But आई थिंक प्रीवियस ईयर्स क्वेश्चंस एनालाइज करना, उसका ट्रेंड, उनका ट्रेंड समझना, ऑप्शन अरेंजमेंट्स कैसे हो रहे हैं वो देख लेना, वो सब भी इम्पोर्टेंट है. अलॉन्ग साइड दैट आई थिंक करंट अफेयर्स इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एक और स्ट्रैटेजी, आई थिंक द मेजर फोकस अभी होना चाहिए, जो बच्चे 25 में लिख रहे हैं उनके लिए ऐसा होना चाहिए कि जब एग्जाम 3-4 महीने दूर है, आपका स्ट्रैटेजी फिक्स अप हो जाना चाहिए. सो व्हेन आई से दैट, व्हाट आई मीन इज यू शुड हैव रिटन एनफ नंबर ऑफ मॉक टेस्ट्स और प्रीवियस ईयर्स क्वेश्चन सॉल्विंग, थ्रू विच आपको ना ये चीज समझ आ जाए कि चलो इस पेपर में कि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वेदर दिस इज अ फैक्चुअल पेपर और वेदर दिस इज अ कंसेप्चुअल पेपर, ये क्लैरिटी आना बहुत जरूरी है. पेपर बीइंग जो पेपर आप सॉल्व कर रहे हो, बी इट अ मॉक टेस्ट, बी इट द एक्चुअल यूपीएससी एग्जाम, आपको ये समझ आना बहुत जरूरी है कि ये फैक्चुअल है या फिर ये थीमेटिक, आई मीन सॉरी, वेदर इट इज अ कंसेप्चुअल पेपर, है ना? अगर कंसेप्चुअल पेपर हो तो और आपकी एक्यूरेसी एवरेज है, तो शायद से उस पेपर में बहुत ज्यादा अटेम्प्ट नहीं करना चाहिए. दैट्स माय पर्सनल टेक. बट अगर पेपर फैक्चुअल हो, तो मेरा टेक 23 का पेपर काफी हद तक फैक्चुअल था, तो ऑन द स्पॉट, ऑन द एग्जाम, लाइक सिटिंग इन द एग्जाम हॉल, आई हैड दिस माइंडसेट कि चलो फैक्चुअल पेपर है, मतलब using my first, there are 3 prongs to prelims, I believe. Number 1 is your knowledge, number 2 common sense, and number 3 is intelligent guesswork. Knowledge, there's no second, no substitute for knowledge. So मेरे को लगा था कि knowledge and common sense use करके I will get to at least a 50% mark, but उसके beyond I have to personally use my intelligent guesswork and other analytical derivative knowledge, whatever I have so far. But वो करने में शायद से negatives होंगे because it's a factual paper. तो अगर नेगेटिव्स हो रहे हैं, तो ऑफसेट दैट नेगेटिव, आई हैव टू इंक्रीज माय अटेम्प्ट, ओवरऑल अटेम्प्ट स्लाइटली हायर, सो दैट आई कैन बैलेंस ऑफ my negatives with my positives. You might have a different strategy how to handle the paper, but that strategy should be very crystal clear in your mind. And before you go into the exam hall next Sunday, should write down an SOP. SOP is standard operating procedure, as to how you're going to be handling the GS1 paper of prelims and the CSAT paper. एसओपी का मतलब क्या है? फॉर इंस्टेंस, अगर आप जानते हो कि आपका पेपर आप 3 राउंड में कंप्लीट करोगे, मैं 3 राउंड में कंप्लीट करती थी अपना पेपर, तो मेरे को पता था कि फर्स्ट राउंड 50 to 55 मिनट्स के अंदर खत्म होना चाहिए. 9:30 द पेपर विल स्टार्ट, 50 मिनट्स इज 10:20, तो 10:20 तक in that SOP, in that page, I used to write number 1 point is by 10:20 first round should be done, by another 25 minutes for second round, so by 10:45 my second round should be done. ऐसे करके जो जो अपने दिमाग को डायरेक्शंस देना है, बिकॉज स्ट्रेस टाइम्स में हम भूल जाते हैं क्या डायरेक्शंस दिया है हमने. तो फॉर इंस्टेंस OMR बबलिंग, डू नॉट लीव OMR बबलिंग फॉर द एंड. सो आई यूज्ड टू राइट दीज इंस्ट्रक्शंस फॉर माई सेल्फ, एंड एग्जाम हॉल में जाने से 10 मिनट पहले मैं वो पेज पढ़ के जाती थी. देन आई यूज्ड टू कीप इट इन माई बैग, and then I had a separate set of instructions for the CSAT paper as well. For instance, मैंने बताया आपको, do not waste more than 120 seconds on every question. right? Reading comprehension, start with reading comprehension, try to solve the reading comprehension within 50 minutes max. तो ये सब लिखा रहता था मेरे पास, and I used to read it before I used to go into the exam hall. So sit today and get an SOP ready if you're writing 2024 prelims on 16th of June, है ना? Right. So I think these were the number of questions that are there, was asked in the chat, and right now then we will be moving a little bit towards. Okay, there are some questions on optional strategy. I'll come to that subsequently. There are certain things that I was asked to speak to you about, things that might be important. To gain perspective about this exam, right? So the first thing that I want to talk to you about this exam is, number one, please do not make this exam a bigger than life affair. It is not bigger than life. It is a part of your life, है ना? अगर आप इस एग्जाम को इतना disproportionate importance दे देते हैं तो क्या होता है? You go into bouts of depression if things are not working well. You go into excessive stress and obsessive thinking ki what if you do not clear this exam, tab kya hoga? There's a lot of what if questions which come to your mind, right? So how to practically not make this exam a bigger than life affair? There are two steps to it, and I really want to get this message across to as many people as possible. The first step is identify your game plan with respect to this exam. See, you're going to be 21 minimum when you start this exam preparation. But the earliest you can start off your exam preparation at the age of 21. Some people started off earlier also, but then 21 is the age when you write your first attempt. तो उसके पहले आपको, आज आपका फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट है या फिफ्थ है या सिक्स्थ, आई डोंट केयर, बट sitting today, you should have an idea as to how many attempts are you going to be investing in this exam, and this can be subject to evolutions. What do I mean by evolution? किसी attempt में आपका एक number से छूट जाता है, so you know that you have the potential to make it, right? So there, hypothetically, you decide that you will be giving 3 attempts to this exam. Third attempt में, God forbid, बड़ा कभी कभी हो जाता है, एक number से रह जाता है. You know that you have the potential of making it into the final list, so you write another attempt. But initially have an idea, chalo, I'll write 3 times, I'll write 4 times, I'll write all 6 attempts, whatever it is. Have that game plan ready. Number one, make sure you have your game plan ready. Second, make sure you have your exit strategy ready. What do I mean by exit strategy? Exit strategy is equivalent to your plan B option. फ्रॉम योर वेरी फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट आपको पता होना चाहिए कि अगर मैं 3 साल ये एग्जाम लिख रहा हूँ तो 3 साल के बाद मे बी देयर विल बी अ स्किल डेफिसिट कंपेयर टू द मार्केट, दैट इज the market skills that is going on against which people are getting competitive employment. If I don't clear this exam in 3 attempts and I know that I don't want to pursue it further, so जैसे I did my LLM, I knew that my transition into law or my exit strategy was via LLM. So like this, I am very confident कि आप सबके पास किसी ना किसी तरीके का exit plan होगा. Some people have family business, some people want to do an MBA, some people want to do an upskilling course at Scalar or something, and through which they would, to the extent possible, bridge up that deficit and plunge back into the job market. So these two questions have to be very clear in your mind from day one. I don't believe that a 21-year-old, when you can ideally start your preparation, is immature to make these decisions. No, you're mature enough, you're sorted enough, दिमाग में आपके पास enough potential and power है to decide all these things. So today, if you're not writing the upcoming prelims, that is, अगर आप next year का attempt लिख रहे हो, तो please answer these two questions for yourself. Number one, what is my game plan regarding this exam? How many attempts am I going to write? And number two, what is my exit strategy? If these two questions are sorted ना, आप देखोगे आपके दिमाग से about 55 to 75% stress कम हो जाएगा, because you will have an answer. What if I fail? Okay, if I fail, I'll join my family business. If I fail, I'll be using my LLM degree to work in policy research centers, or I will be perhaps starting as a A1 or A0 associate level at a good law firm in the country and work my way up, or I will be I'll do an MBA. So in your mind, you know what you're going to do, so you won't feel scared, you won't feel uncertain. future uncertain nahi lagega. So you are befriending this uncertainty of this exam by answering these two questions. And please, I entreat each and every one of you, have a clear understanding about these two things, right? Number one, your game plan regarding the exam, and number two, your exit strategy regarding this exam. You know, these are the first two important things I want to talk about. Right. Next, I have talked to you about your prelims, how you're supposed to be managing it. Ideally, if you're writing the 25 attempt, so ask the gradually solve a lot of mocks, and mock test लिखते लिखते आपको समझ आ जाएगा आपको राउंड सिस्टम में पेपर सॉल्व करना है या फिर you want to start from one to scratch. And right, and at the same time, thematic analysis is extremely important both for prelims and mains. I've told you that also. With respect to mains, I feel that you should have notes ready for every bullet point which is given in your syllabus. I think this is the same thing which most of the people who've cleared this exam often talk about, right? कि if you have your own notes ready या फिर किसी टॉपर के notes अगर आपने यूज किया तो उस पर value addition कीजिए. Do not rely strictly on any topper notes, because A, that's not your original material, and you might not get as high results as you are expecting to get out of any one specific topper notes. And secondly, I believe that if you personalize anything, you're definitely going to clear this exam. And like if you're personalizing an existing set of notes, you're going to be clearing the exam, and you're going to be writing unique answers. For instance, हाइपोथेटिकली आपने एक्स टॉपर के नोट्स रेफर किए हैं, एंड उसी द सेम नोट्स हैज बीन रेफर टू बाय एटलीस्ट 150 to 200 good students. So when the papers are being evaluated and they see the same kind of answers in about 200 copies, so there won't be anything new in your answer, right? तो आपका फोकस होना चाहिए कि आप अपने आंसर्स को इंजेन्युइन, आपके आंसर्स को यूनिक कैसे कर पाए, तो उसकी प्रेपरेशन मेंस के दोहरानी होती है, right? So this is how you want to make your notes better. There are some value addition materials with respect to data, examples, etc. available on different institutes of what do you call it, those websites, right? So, and those are free materials, might have some very minimal paid subscription. Make use of whatever material you can easily have or lay your hands on, है ना? So overall, that can be used in order to give unique and very enriched examples for your mains answers. So overall, I think this is going to be the way you're going to be proceeding in the GS 1, 2, 3, 4 of mains. Specifically in ethics, as I feel that it's an area that I have better dexterity in than the other GS subjects. Consistently मेरे 2020 के attempt में I think 2126 or something was the highest. I had scored about 121, and this attempt also I had scored about 130 in ethics. So what you have to focus on in ethics is 130, I think 125 or 130, I don't remember clearly. Yeah, sorry, I had scored 128 in essay and 125 in ethics. So in ethics, what you have to focus on is getting a repository of very good examples plus having very crisp definitions for ethical concepts ready. I think these are the two most important arsenal that you have to prepare in your exam journey, right, for ethics. So when I say definitions, आप अपने एथिक्स का सिलेबस देखना, उसी में से 40 कीवर्ड्स आपको ऐसे ही मिल जाएंगे. तो फॉर एवरी कीवर्ड लाइक एटीट्यूड, एप्टीट्यूड, हैव अ वेरी वन लाइनर क्रिस्प डेफिनेशन रेडी, एंड फॉर एवरी कीवर्ड हैव एटलीस्ट 5 एग्जांपल्स रेडी. 2 एग्जांपल फ्रॉम लाइव्स ऑफ past leaders or present leaders, 2 examples from lives of past or present civil servants, IS, IPS, etc., and 1 example from your personal life, है ना? So in this way, you are for every keyword you're writing 5 examples ready with you. So that means at least 120 examples आपके पास ready हो जाएंगे. And for every point that you write in an ethics answer, you can give 2 examples. Another thing that I want to talk to you about is writing examples for ethics. Some people explain 1 example for 4 lines. Don't do that. I think and I feel that the width of the examples matter. How many different types of examples you're giving, that matters. So आप कोशिश कीजिएगा कि 3 से 4 words में आपका example, हर एक example wrap up हो जाए. So you have to be very crisp in your expression, and you have to practice extreme brevity when it comes to writing. So that comes only with extensive writing practice. That's my next point. For mains, if you want to be good, you have to write answers. For prelims, if you want to be good, you have to build up what I call the MCQ aptitude. So MCQ aptitude का मतलब है when prelims was near, because I had failed my first prelims, I worked excessively hard for the next coming prelims, and for every prelims that I studied, at least GS part mein I have never failed, right? So what I used to do is, I at times I used to solve about 50 to 100 MCQs every day. तो मतलब एक बार मैं नहीं करती थी, सुबह उठ के ब्रश करना, तो उठते ही 10 एमसीक्यू सॉल्व कर लिया, ठीक है, फिर उसके सॉल्यूशंस हाथों हाथ देख लिया, साइड रख दिया, फिर ब्रश करने के बाद बिफोर ब्रेकफास्ट एक और another 10 set of 10 MCQ solve कर लिया, then after breakfast I finish off one set of 10 MCQs, ऐसे करके before lunch 50 MCQs हो जाते थे, and then after lunch again you can do 50 MCQs before you go to bed, right? So when prelims is about 45 or 60 days away, and you feel that MCQs aptitude, I call it MCQ aptitude because it's slightly tricky for people who especially are trained to write, है ना? तो it's tricky to, I found it tricky to find the right answer out of the 4 options that were there. So अगर आपको भी ऐसा feel होता है आपके aptitude के बारे में, तो you have to build up that MCQ aptitude. For that you have to extensively do MCQ practice. Similarly for mains, if you feel that you lack in mains, then you have to do at least 2 to 3 answer writing practice from day one. Which brings me to another point that people talk about, ki when should I start answer writing? There is no point of finishing the syllabus thinking that पहले syllabus finish कर लूंगी, उसके बाद मैं answer writing practice करूंगी. It's a big no. In UPSC, you can't really wait for one phase to get over and start the other phase, because of which prelims and mains की तैयारी एक साथ होती है, right? So no segregation is there. Everything is an integrated approach. So day one, whether you've studied something or not, pick up the PYQ, solve the answers. PYQ is your Bible for this exam. So pick up PYQs and start your answer writing practice from day one. That's my overall, what I had to talk to you about your mains and prelims. With respect to optional, I think choosing optional is a very important aspect. Choosing optional, कैसे optional choose करना है? I think you should watch. If you've not seen Aspirants, that TV series on UPSC Aspirants, please go watch it. The way, I think in the first or the second season, first or second episode में इतने प्यारे तरीके से समझाया था कि optional कैसे choose करना है. I think it's very very valid. Do not choose an optional because supposedly उसमें marks मिलता है. No, choose an optional when you are very comfortable and you have high interest in that subject area. Third, choose an optional जिसका एक legit टेस्ट सीरीज हो जहाँ पे आप राइटिंग प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हो एंड कंपटीशन के पर्सपेक्टिव से आपका परफॉर्मेंस कैसा हो रहा है वो आप असेस कर सकते हो. एंड fourth is an optional criteria, but if you can choose an optional where you can have a good peer group जिसके साथ आप question answers discuss कर सकते हो and you can do brainstorming sessions. So overall this can be a strategy for choosing your optional. I'll just take a little bit of a pause and see some of the questions have been asked. So I'll just quickly address those questions. When to start answer writing? Okay, improve time to time. I told you when to start answer writing. You started from day one. How to improve answer writing? If possible, get your answers evaluated by someone who's written this exam or something. Or which is important is आप कुछ लोग complete नहीं कर पाते paper है ना. So I tell them that चलो आप अगर 1.5 hours का कोई test लिख रहे हो तो you count how much marks you've completed in that given time. Next day at least try to write the introduction of the next question. अगर आपने day 1 पे 7 questions attempt किया है within 1.5 hours, then the next day try to at least write the introduction, 1 or 2 lines of the introduction of the 8th question. Overall this should be your incremental progress strategy when it comes to mains. And initially अगर आप mains के answers लिख रहे हो, then please focus on quality rather than quantity. Don't chase कि मेरे को इतने सारे questions finish करना है. No, rather focus on the quality of the answers that you're writing. So initially focus on the quality. By the time you're actually writing mains 2025 or this particular 2024 mains, the muscle memory in your hand, you'll have to write so much. You'll be writing so many exams and mock tests. By the time you're done with all the exams, the hands muscle memory will be so high that you'll very comfortably finish all 20 questions in the given time. Okay, newspaper reading, I will address that. Okay, let me just finish that right now. I think daily newspaper reading is extremely important. So today you find out which newspaper you're going to read. You can read the Hindu or the Indian Express according to your comfort, है ना? But what is important, and I apologize if I look a little tired and I keep touching my head, because I just came back from work and I still am actually at my office, and I'm doing that session from there. When it comes to newspaper reading, my strategy is that you have to read a newspaper in 40 to 45 minutes, maximum 50 minutes, right? So first thing that I did not ever do was reading the newspaper. एकदम first होता है ना, हम पढ़ने बैठे हैं सुबह सुबह 7-8 बजे जब भी है, और हम बैठ गए न्यूज़पेपर लेके, तो उसमें क्या हो जाता है ना, आप 2-2.5 घंटा न्यूज़पेपर में ही लगा देते हो, एंड मॉर्निंग आवर्स आर द मोस्ट प्रोडक्टिव आवर्स, एटलीस्ट फॉर अ पर्सन हु राइजेस अर्ली। तो मॉर्निंग आवर्स के प्रोडक्टिव आवर्स के 2.5 घंटा आपने न्यूज़पेपर रीडिंग में लगा दिया, एंड आई फील कि वो बहुत ज़्यादा कॉस्ट बेनिफिट रेशियो में थोड़ा नीचे रैंक होता है उसका। तो मैं क्या करती थी, पूरा दिन पढ़ाई कर लो, सब कुछ खत्म कर लो, सोने से पहले, लाइक द लास्ट थिंग बिफोर इन द एंटायर डेज एजेंडा, 1 hour बिफोर आई गो टू स्लीप, आई यूज्ड टू सिट विथ माय न्यूज़पेपर। मैं टाइमर लगाती थी 45 मिनट्स का, तो आई यूज्ड टू रीड माय न्यूज़पेपर्स ऑनलाइन क्विकली। मैं स्क्रॉल डाउन करती थी, एंड आई यूज्ड टू रीड द इंडियन एक्सप्रेस, तो मैं क्विकली स्क्रॉल डाउन करती थी कि व्हाट आर द हाइलाइट्स, है ना, उस पर्टिकुलर पेपर में व्हाट आर द हाइलाइट्स ऑफ दैट डे। एंड अगर कोई न्यूज़ है जो प्रीलिम्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से रेलेवेंट है, तभी मैं इनसाइड आई विल बी रीडिंग द content of that news. So first my eyes was trained to scan through all the headlines of the newspapers, ठीक है? तो वो काम एटलीस्ट 15 मिनट में आराम से आप पूरे न्यूज़पेपर का कर सकते हो, स्कैनिंग द हेडलाइंस एंड रीडिंग ओनली द इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट्स। यू आर लेफ्ट विथ रफली 25 to 30 मिनट्स, अगर मैं 45 मिनट्स का स्ट्रैटेजी लेके बात कर रही हूँ तो नाउ यू हैव 30 मिनट्स। तो उस 30 मिनट्स में आपको करना क्या है? वेरी सिंपल, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट रीडिंग योर एडिटोरियल्स देयर। तो इमेजिन अगर डिस्कॉम्स पे एक एडिटोरियल है ना, आपको पता है GS3 में इम्पोर्टेंट हो सकता है, राइट? तो उस एडिटोरियल को मतलब बाकायदा अच्छे से पढ़िए। और अगर आप ऑफलाइन पढ़ते हो तो होता है ना, चलो दिस कैन बी पॉइंट 1, दिस कैन बी पॉइंट 2, दिस कैन बी पॉइंट 3, ऐसे करके पॉइंटर्स बना लीजिए। या फिर व्हाट यू डू इज, आप ऑनलाइन पढ़ रहे हो तो अपने आईपैड या फिर कोई भी टैबलेट का जो पेन है वहां से 1 2 3 को कर लिया, उसके बाद स्क्रीनशॉट ले लीजिए। ऑफलाइन पढ़ रहे हो तो स्क्रीन कट इट आउट, कीप अ पेपर कट आउट। So you are taking a screenshot and sending it into a folder called GS3, or you're cutting it out and you're storing it into a folder offline, hard folder called GS3. Do it for the entire week. Saturday evening, बैठ के sit down with that entire folder and transfer the notes from those cutouts into your actual notes. अगर आप ऐसे करोगे तो पूरे हफ्ते का एवरीडेज रीडिंग विल बी 45 मिनट्स। सैटरडे शायद से आपको 1 घंटा लगाना पड़ेगा to transfer the notes back into your original area. So this is how my newspaper strategy used to be, and 45 minutes tops, not more than that. Maximum कभी-कभी अगर बहुत important newspaper है उस particular दिन का, तो maybe 50-55 minutes, not more than that. So uh, but there's no denying the fact that newspaper is extremely important. एंड जब इंटरव्यू प्रिपरेशन की बात आती है तो उस टाइम पे आपके न्यूज़पेपर्स बढ़ जाते हैं। यू रीड द हिंदू, यू रीड द इंडियन एक्सप्रेस, यू शुड रीड अ इकोनॉमी वाला न्यूज़पेपर, सो आई यूज्ड टू रीड बिजनेस स्टैंडर्ड। उसके बाद दिस मिंट is a good newspaper to read for your interview preparation. I think 4 to 5, and then you can read Down to Earth and magazine for environment related questions. So overall readings during the interview time increases, writing practice kam ho jati hai, but you can balance it out, right? Okay. Uh, let's say I addressed newspaper reading. Next is congratulations. Thank you for clearing some of my doubts. It's my pleasure. Prelims and means integrated preparation कैसे किया जा सकता है? I think I addressed that. One of the easiest ways to do it is get hold of some test series which has an integrated prelims cum means approach, है ना? तो उसमें क्या होता है कि whatever means your whatever means के लिए test is upcoming, उसी के ऊपर बेस करके prelims के papers frame हो जाता है. So you might just do a little bit of research, you will find it present. And if not, then if you're not following any particular test series, then you will have these mock tests at least present in the market. You can pick up the test from there. Just adhere to a schedule which either you have prepared for yourself for the entire year, or some institute has prepared for the students, right? So adhere to one schedule, and I think that's going to be very helpful. Prelims, mains और interview में यदि किसी क्वेश्चन का आंसर ना आता है तो उसे कैसे आंसर करना है। अगर इंटरव्यू में क्वेश्चन नहीं आता है आंसर, तो यू जस्ट टेल देम कि नहीं आता है। आई थिंक दैट्स अ ऑनेस्ट स्ट्रैटेजी दैट यू कैन डू। इफ यू डोंट नो एन आंसर इन इंटरव्यू, जस्ट टेल देम आई डोंट नो, आई अपोलोजाइज, आई वांट टू रीड इट अप फर्दर। है ना? गेस वर्क करने का मतलब नहीं है। फॉर प्रीलिम्स अगेन डिपेंड्स अपॉन योर स्ट्रैटेजी एंड द गेम एंड द काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन। जैसे मैंने ये अपने आप को सेट कर लिया था कि एंशिएंट मिडिवल एंड आर्ट एंड कल्चर इज, मैं आई एम वीक इन दोज एरियाज, मेरे को पता है। सो आई विल नॉट ट्राई टू डू गेस वर्क इन दोज क्वेश्चंस बिकॉज गलत हो जाता है बहुत ज्यादा। बट इकोनॉमी, एनवायरनमेंट, पॉलिटी आर द एरियाज जहाँ पे मैंने अपना स्ट्रेंथ काफी इंप्रूव कर लिया था, राइट? So if I got some question there, I used to try to derive the meaning of the term using my derivative knowledge, understanding, common sense, and greater chances of me getting right answer in those questions, है ना? तो you have to mix and match like that and decide prelims के questions skip करना है या फिर you want to attend it. Mains के questions कैसे करना है? Mains के 20 questions में से ideally it's said that 13-14 questions you write excellently well. Then you write 4 questions and an average level. Two questions or 3 questions are there कि आपको बहुत अच्छे से नहीं आता है. But at least following a general structure, for instance अगर question आपका है alternative cropping patterns पे, तो at least you would have prepared a definition on cropping pattern. You would have prepared some diagram on India and different cropping patterns followed in India, provided the question is also on India. तो आपने वो diagram use कर लिया, तो even if you do not know the pinpoint answer of it, but background वाला knowledge है, do not write a wrong answer in the question. At the same time, try your best to have a background analysis and write a generic answer to the extent possible. Okay, is there enough time for 2025 if I start tomorrow onwards? Absolutely, Mr. Saurav. I think there's enough time for 2025 exam preparation. This exam requires a very confident mindset that you're going to be nailing it, you're going to be doing excellently well. If you have that mindset, I do not think anything can stop you. Interview experience kaisa tha? I think I spoke to you about my interview experience. Interview experience was great, but the marks was not. Next, mental health के लिए क्या करना चाहिए, मैम? I think this is a very, very, very important topic. The first thing that you do for your mental health is the 2 questions I asked you to answer. What's my game plan for this exam? And what's my exit strategy? The first 2 questions need to be addressed for your mental health aspect. I think बहुत help हो जाती है इस चीज से. स्ट्रेस कम हो जाता है यार. सो दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग आई फील. सेकंड, आई थिंक if possible journal whatever feelings that you're feeling. It's the best way, either if you have a confidant in your friend, in your parents, talk to them regularly, or else journal. बहुत बहुत हेल्प हो जाती है इस चीज से. मैं पेंटिंग करती थी व्हेनेवर आई यूज्ड टू फील वेरी स्ट्रेस्ड, और आई यूज्ड टू पेंट माय हार्ट आउट, एंड एट दैट टाइम काफी सारे इमोशंस तो वैसे ही एक्सप्रेस हो जाते थे पेपर्स के थ्रू से, राइट? Another thing that you have to be a little bit less emotional about this exam. जैसे प्रीलिम्स के टाइम पे आपने काफी सारे ये टॉपर से ये चीज सुना होगा, राइट? कि एवरी क्वेश्चन हैज इक्वल वेटेज, तो 10 क्वेश्चन अगर नहीं बन रहा है तो 11th क्वेश्चन पे उसका बैगेज नहीं लेके जाना है. दैट्स द एग्जैक्ट माइक्रो लेवल पे दैट इज बीइंग डिटैच्ड फ्रॉम द एवरी क्वेश्चन. सो बी अ रोबोट. एक क्वेश्चन है, उसको सॉल्व करो, गो टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. सेम रोबोटिक एटीट्यूड इज सपोज टू बी इम्प्लीमेंटेड ऑन अ डे टू डे बेसिस. आज अच्छे से पढ़ाई नहीं हुई, इट्स फाइन, कल हो जाएगी. फॉरगेट द यस्टरडे बैगेज, मूव ऑन. 2 बार फेल हो गए, कोई बात नहीं, थर्ड टाइम निकलेगा, बिकॉज दैट्स माई गेम प्लान, दैट्स माई स्ट्रैटेजी. सो यू पुट इन ऑल योर energy and investment into the third attempt. जैसे you have to, here I'd like to stress on one thing. Human brain, scientifically proven, is the most malleable organ in the entire body. Malleable का मतलब क्या है? You जैसे भी उसको शेप करना है वो वैसा शेप ले लेगा. ह्यूमन ब्रेन एक्चुअली इज दैट, एंड आई हैव इम्प्लीमेंटेड इट, राइट? अगर आप ट्रेन कर रहे हो अपने ब्रेन को कि आप ना सोचो व्हाट इफ के बारे में, तो व्हाट इफ क्वेश्चंस नहीं आएंगे. सो लाइक दिस, प्लीज गेट टू अ स्टेज वेयर यू कैन gradually gain so much confidence on yourself that you, number 1, stay away from negative people. 2, be very cautious about the kind of bondings relationships you are getting into, right? Be it a romantic relationship, be it a friendship of sorts. If it is harming you, if you feel that वो चीज आपसे काफी हद तक चीज मतलब आपका मेंटल पीस एग्जॉस्ट कर रही है, तो उस चीज से दूर रहिए, राइट? फैमिली से प्रेशर है, हर एक जगह से प्रेशर रहता ही है, बट देन sit your parents, sit your family down. If they are, forcing you to do something else other this exam, tell them why this exam is important to you, and then give your 100%. I think conversations are one of the best ways to handle stuff like this, right? Okay. Were you an SNT SSC student? No, 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 no. They did a felicitation for us in Bengal, but I was not a student there. Maps को कैसे याद रखें, ma'am? For this, at least every week, if it's a 2025 attempt that you have, every week sit with maps. Every third day you can sit with maps and give 15 minutes to maps, है ना? और every week 1 घंटा map को देना ही है. When exams are coming close, every day 15 minutes to 20 minutes you can give for your maps. You can watch YouTube videos and places in news which are important, and whichever news countries in news उसके आसपास build up करके. For instance 23 में ना, you guys would have seen, I think there was a question कि यूक्रेन के bordering countries क्या थे, तब वो यूक्रेन रशिया war was going on, and वन ऑफ द बेसिक क्वेश्चंस मैंने अपने दिमाग में सोचा था, यार बहुत बेसिक क्वेश्चन है कि यूक्रेन के बॉर्डरिंग कंट्रीज क्या होंगे, बट आई नेवर एक्सपेक्टेड कि वही क्वेश्चन आ जाएगा, राइट? सो बट सो वॉट एवर प्लेसेज इन न्यूज उसको बिल्ड अप करके वॉट एवर क्वेश्चन यू कैन प्रेडिक्ट, प्रिपेयर मैप्स अकॉर्डिंगली. प्लान बी कब से रखना चाहिए? प्लान बी तो मैंने बता दिया ना, आज अभी बैठ के थोड़ा बहुत सोच लो कि 3 अटेम्प्ट 4 अटेम्प्ट के बाद ठीक है, I will start either doing a part-time job to support myself financially or look up courses. पढ़ते-पढ़ते एग्ज़ाम के लिए तैयारी करते-करते आप बहुत सारे कोर्सेज़ एंड बहुत सारे लोग इग्नोर से मास्टर्स कर लेते हैं, राइट? मेरा जो एलएलएम कोर्स था फ्रॉम जिंदल ग्लोबल लॉ स्कूल, दैट वाज़ अ ब्लेंडेड एलएलएम प्रोग्राम. So half the time was in the university, half the time I could be at home. So ऐसा कॉम्बिनेशन कोर्सेज़ आप एक्सप्लोर कर सकते हो. So अगर एग्जाम लिख रहे हो 16 को, तो अभी नहीं सोचना है प्लान बी के बारे में. 17 जून को बैठ के आप सोचना. अगर 25 अटेम्प्ट आपका अटेम्प्ट है, तो अभी आप डेफिनेटली सोच सकते हो कि हाउ शुड यू प्लान योर एग्जिट स्ट्रेटजी. आपने कौन-सी मिस्टेक्स करी थी मैम? अरे बहुत सारी मिस्टेक्स करी थी मैंने. तो फर्स्ट मिस्टेक आई टोल्ड यू वाज़ दिस दैट अगर प्रीलिम्स इज़ वन ऑफ द टफेस्ट स्टेजेस आई फील इज़ फॉर दिस एग्ज़ाम. तो अगर आपको पता है कि आपका प्रीलिम्स वाला अरीना थोड़ा वीक है, तो 5 दिन बचे हैं फाइनल लिस्ट में, फाइनल उसमें रिज़ल्ट नहीं आया, और 5 दिन में आप पढ़ के आपको पता है कि शायद से नहीं क्लियर होगा प्रीलिम्स, तो फालतू में एग्ज़ॉस्ट नहीं करो अपने अटेम्प्ट्स, है ना? नंबर 1. नंबर 2, आई थिंक प्रीवियस ईयर्स क्वेश्चंस पे रिलायंस बहुत एक्सेसिवली ज़्यादा होना चाहिए, बिकॉज़ दैट्स योर बाइबल, दैट इज़ गोइंग टू ड्रॉ दैट बाउंड्री अराउंड योर एंटायर सिलेबस. तो प्रीवियस ईयर्स क्वेश्चंस पे बहुत ज़्यादा फोकस करना. एंड थर्ड इज़ थोड़ा फिलोसॉफिकल साउंड करेगा, बट इनिशियली आई वाज़ वेरी अटैच्ड टू द आउटकम. बट लास्ट ईयर एज़ आई टोल्ड यू, मेरा 3-3 चीज़ एक साथ चल रहा था, एलएलएम जॉब एंड माय एग्ज़ाम प्रेप ना. तो दिमाग में सही बताऊँ तो टाइम ही नहीं मिलता था फॉर माय माइंड कि वो सोच पाए कि अगर मैं फेल हो जाऊँ फिर से क्या होगा, ये वो फलाना-ढिमकाना, नहीं. So never used to get time to think about what ifs. But before this attempt, there were time to think about what ifs, and I got very attached to the outcome. So systematically becoming passionately detached. I call it passionate detachment. Be passionately involved in whatever you're doing in a day-to-day activities and be detached from the process. And detached कैसे होना है? Practically अगर मैं बताऊँ, अपने पूरे दिन को ऐसे डिजाइन कर लो कि दिमाग के पास सोचने के लिए टाइम ही ना रहे. डज़न्ट मीन कि पूरा दिन पढ़ाई करो. सुबह उठ के एक्सरसाइज कर लो, बैडमिंटन खेल लो, कोई स्पोर्ट खेल लो, उसके बाद आके पढ़ाई कर लो. इफ यू लाइक टू कुक योर ओन फूड, spend time with your family, again go and study, go for a walk in the evening, come back, again study. So plan out your day in a way that khali dimag, idle mind is a devil's workshop. You do not leave your mind idle at all. Overall, this is how I think one can think of navigating the mental health aspect. Okay. In how many days should one finish Spectrum? Uh, it depends. I can't really give the number of days. If it's an interesting topic for you, can finish it in like 3 to 4 days. If it's something which takes a little bit of time, maybe 10 days, 10 to 15 days. Have you cleared UPSC? Yes, I have. I secured All India Rank 207 in the UPSC CSE 2023 exam. Okay, when should one ideally begin answer writing practice? From day one. Do not wait to finish portions. Take out PYQ, start writing answers. UPSC के start में आपने कौन सी mistakes की थी? I told you just now, not relying enough on previous year's questions and being excessively attached to the outcome. Also, the two questions that I told you, game plan and exit strategy, मेरे दिमाग में उस टाइम पे फिक्स नहीं था. This is something that I realized with experience कि ये होना चाहिए. Please give some tips on reading to memorize the thing. Whatever you're reading, how do you recollect better? Active recollection is something that can be practiced very effectively. What does it mean? Revisions, multiple rounds of revisions. So एक round of revision होता है every day. आपने सोचो कि सुबह के 7 बजे से लेके रात के 9 साढ़े 9 बजे तक पढ़ाई खत्म कर ली, राइट? अभी आपने डिनर कर लिया, आप बैठे हो, नाउ यू गोइंग टू स्लीप. So what you do is sit down with a white sheet of paper, and in that white sheet of paper, rough sheet of paper, but scribble whatever you've studied in the entire day. Acha, if I studied history में ये I studied, okay, ठीक है. I studied optional में I studied all of these things, and so on and so forth. So this is called active recalling. At the end of every day, scribble whatever you have read in the entire day. That's first round of revision. Second, whatever mock test you have, say you have 10 days for a mock test, है ना? So in 8 days, try to finish off at least 65 to 70% of the syllabus that you have for that mock test, be it prelims, means whatever. After that, and then jot down those bullet points जिसका syllabus, जिसका portions आपने खत्म नहीं किया. Then in the next 2 days, 8th and 9th day, whatever you had read during the first 7 days, revise that again, right? And then on the 10th day, go and write your exam. तो आपने 4 topics खत्म नहीं किया था. The next round of your mock test, when the same topics are covered, first do those 4 topics and then you can go backwards. So in this way, for every test, before every test, you will have revised your portions at least a minimum of 2 times. So more number of revisions, better your performance is going to be, right? Um okay, strategy for 2027. I'm assuming you're still in college, or you just first, maybe if you're in college, please focus on your graduation subject. Love whatever you're doing in college. I really believe college days will never come back. So enjoy, participate in a lot of activities, builds your leadership activities. Your leadership traits are very important to become a civil servant. So do not absolve yourself from all these activities. और ऐसा है कि नहीं मैं तो पूरा दिन अभी रूम में बैठ के यूपीएससी की तैयारी करूंगा ना. Please, if you are in college, give your heart out to participating in as many activities as you can in college. But practice your newspaper reading ambit. And second, अगर हो पाए तो हर दिन 10 pages of some important novels. It can be fiction, it can be non-fiction. Start off with fiction, but get into start off with non-fiction. If possible, to the extent possible, get into the reading habit. It will help you a lot. Okay. CSAT की study कैसे करें? I think YouTube is a good source for CSAT. If you would see the previous part of this particular, this will be recorded and I think shared. I think you guys can understand. I've dealt with the CSAT strategy earlier on. How to cover geography beginner guide. Okay, geography में Bible for me was NCRTs, especially 11th and 12th NCRT. I had literally learnt up every important information and term which was there in the NCRT. Do that. It will serve you very, very well. Along with that, Goching Leong, GC Leong's book is also helpful. Alongside that, do all your PYQs. For mains, watch the PYQ analysis videos that they have shared on YouTube. Different coaching institutes, different people share. Make use of free materials as much as possible. And because I used to find geography mains part slightly challenging, I still do. So I had made model answers out of these video discussions that I had seen. So this is how you can go ahead with geography. हिंदी में बताओ, जितने हद तक हिंदी मेरे से बोला जा रहा है मैं बोल रही हूँ. My mother tongue is Bengali. So I think दैट्स गुड इनफ। इकोनॉमी के लिए ओनली मृणाल सर के नोट्स एंड बैच फॉलो कर सकते हैं। मैंने मृणाल सर के नोट्स फॉलो किया था इकोनॉमी के लिए, बट आई हैड ऑल्सो फॉलोड द यूट्यूब, नॉट द यूट्यूब, द टेलीग्राम चैनल ऑफ विवेक सिंह सर। तो आई थिंक इफ यू कंबाइन बोथ ऑफ देम, एंड स्पेशली विवेक सिंह सर का एक कोई फ्री मटेरियल था 500 MCQs बिफोर प्रीलिम्स, तो आई हैड डन दैट ऑल्सो, सो दैट बूस्टेड माई कॉन्फिडेंस एंड help me gain clarity of concepts. But in addition to everything, सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट इज प्रीवियस ईयर्स क्वेश्चंस। अगर आप ढंग से PYQs करो तो बहुत कुछ बहुत इजी हो जाता है। हाउ टू decode हाउ इज decode ethics book में मुदित जैन सर, आई हैव नॉट read that book, so I wouldn't be able to help you out there. So now we've addressed all these questions. Now moving slickly into a little bit of other questions that was given to me as a list I had to talk to you about. Interview dress code. So when you go into interview, the dress code for boys, generally they wear suit pant, and for girls they generally wear saris. You have a modest sari. You would have seen YouTube, Insta pictures of people appearing for interview. Wear a good, decent, modest sari. Nothing too bright. Don't put on too much makeup if you're a girl. Just simple. They made me take off my earrings also, so it's ideal not to wear any jewelry when you're going into the exam hall. So that is about your dress code. With respect to your preparation, we talk about it. Newspaper reading becomes very important in your preparation when it comes to interview, and 2 to 3 mocks, I think, is more than enough. You should not lose your originality. At the same time, you should feel very confident about whatever you're about to say, right? I spoke to you about job and exam. So maybe after your second or third attempt, if you're someone who feels very strongly, जैसे मैं बहुत ज़्यादा strongly financial independence में believe करती हूँ, तो from day one मेरे दिमाग में एक चीज़ तो clear था कि कुछ भी हो जाए मेरे को financial independent होना ही है. I did not want to rely on my parents' money. This was my personal perspective, completely personal. तो मैंने क्या किया था, as I told you, after my first failure, I started working part-time basis as a consultant, and after I finished my so then subsequently 21 mein I did a full-time job for a while. Then I did my LLM, and after my LLM I got a promotion at my existing job, which was the full-time, the current job that I am in, and I'm serving my notice period right now. So overall, this is how I think, if you feel that financial independence is important, again varies from person to person, values to values. It also helps to tell to the interview panel, that I have also been working, and at the same time I've also been preparing. I think that I'm not confident, I'm not sure 100% whether it has an impact or not, but that might have a positive impact about it. Need of coaching, and this was one question that I saw some people asking also, whether coaching is compulsory or whether it is it's imperative or not. See, I don't think anything in this world is absolutely necessary, and calling it necessary is making it extreme, and I do not live in extremities, right? So I think having a mentor of sorts who can guide you about the process, what to study, what not to study, is much better deal alongside your coaching, whether or not you're doing your coaching. So for instance, this mentor can be an elder sibling who has cleared or who has appeared multiple times in this exam, can be a friend who has cleared, somebody else who's experienced enough, does not have to be strictly a commercial transaction with anyone, है ना? तो try to get hold of someone who can guide you well. I think guidance is much more important. But some people do find coaching relevant. Even I did coaching slightly for a year, and then I had done extensively answer writing practice, helps a lot, right? Importance of NCRTs is another thing that I want to tell you. See, NCRTs is indispensable, and it's your basic material. And for subjects like geography, they are the material, right? So please go through all your NCRTs very thoroughly. You would find a lot of YouTube videos talking about which NCRTs have to be done and all. But subjects like geography, I think NCRTs is your go-to thing. You mug up your NCRTs well, solve a lot of MCQs, do your expert topics from GC Leong, and I think you're good to go for geography. So like this, I think NCRTs are very important, especially whenever there are boxes in NCRTs. Do those well. I remember in 21 there was a question on translation of the Indian national anthem and the place where that was done. You wouldn't believe, but then that was written as a subtitle to to the page behind the cover page in the NCRT where they had written the national anthem, paragraph from the national anthem, and नीचे asterisk में ना उन्होंने लिख दिया था कि इसका translation यहाँ से यहाँ ये यहाँ पे हुआ था. So those boxes become very relevant. I think you can really explore the boxes which are present in NCRT का book. Newspaper reading, I think we've done extensively, and importance of test series is also something that I told you about. The test series becomes important. Why? Because they help you keep you updated with the competition which is going on in the market. Second, you are up to date with the schedule that you have for yourself. Having a timetable or routine is very important in this exam, because the exam का duration is 1.5 years, है ना. तो इतना लंबा जब ड्यूरेशन चल जाता है, इट्स वेरी इजी टू लूज कंसिस्टेंसी, इट्स वेरी इजी टू लूज मोटिवेशन. जब आपके पास एक स्केड्यूल है, टाइम टेबल, आपको पता है कि 10 दिन में ये सिलेबस खत्म करना ही है, यू विल वर्क वेरी हार्ड एंड कंप्लीट इट, है ना. सो ओवरऑल आई थिंक this is what I want to talk to you, and I wanted to share with you. I was asked, and I felt very grateful that I could share all of these things with you. Just stick by one principle, PDP, patience, determination, and perseverance. If you have these three with you, it might take a little time. It's fine. होता है, कभी कभी थोड़ा वक्त लग जाता है, बट देन यू मेक इट, एंड व्हेन यू मेक इट, द नंबर ऑफ इयर्स दिस ऑल फील, चलो अब सिंक में बैठ गया सब कुछ, है ना. तो all the very best to all of you out there. I'll just see if quickly there are any other questions which there are some questions which have come up. I'll quickly address these questions and then we can call this session to a close, right? So please share your ethics strategy, especially the applied ethics component. I told you before, ethics may go to the syllabus of ethics, identify all the keywords of ethics, make one liner crisp definition for every keyword, and have 5 examples ready for every keyword, 2 of leaders, 2 of civil servants past present, and 1 personal example from your life. For every keyword you should have 5 examples ideally prepared. You would have then built up a repository of about 100 to 120 examples. Then you move on to a standard book, try to cover up every bullet point ka syllabus from that standard book, and do a lot of answer writing practice. This is for section A. Section B ke liye, again, do a thematic analysis. For instance, environmental ethics is a theme that comes recurrently. तो उस theme के लिए introduction prepare कर लीजिए. Body में जो आप keywords, theories, examples use करेंगे वो लिख लीजिएगा, और फिर conclusion भी prepare कर लीजिएगा. So having a pre-prepared intro, body, conclusion pointers for case studies in ethics, I think boosts your marks significantly. We can subsequently do a session solely on ethics also later on, but because of the paucity of time today, I don't think we can go more into ethics right now. Okay, history is very broad topic. How to read it in confinement, with same with other subjects. I think anything जिसको आपको confined way में पढ़ना है, the tool to do it is your previous year's questions. Previous year's questions helps to draw this boundary along this seemingly vast syllabus that UPSC projects itself to be. But if you do PYQs properly, I think काफी हद तक आपको समझ आ जाएगा कि चलो doctrine of lapse important है, subsidiary alliance important है from the 1857 वाला area. 1857 then you move on to the period of 1939 to 1947. This theme is very important in modern Indian history, right? So ऐसे you will be able to figure out the thematics from which questions are asked multiple times. Okay, main specific study कब से करनी चाहिए? I think after your prelims, but then till you write your prelims, like for instance prelims के 80-90 days पहले तक you can do both combined prelims and main study. 80 days completely prelim study, and then after your prelims you can do main study. Yeah, I think that's it. This is your own YouTube channel? Absolutely not. I do not have a YouTube channel. Part time job आपने कौन सी कंपनी में करती है? मुझे भी करना है. I am a lawyer, so I was working as a legal consultant at the Center for Child in Law. People who have an interest in policy research, what you can do is you can actually do policy consultancy work side by side after your second or third attempt, है ना? Because stability hai, and you can manage your preparation alongside your work. I completed my inter this exam. what can I do to crack the UPSC exam, ma'am? I think the entire video is about that. You can watch it from the top. Please guide for CSAT. We have discussed CSAT in length from the beginning part of the video. You can watch it. Uh, Okay. How to build self discipline in your exam? Okay. Self discipline, I told you, consistency, self discipline, all of it can come in if you have a. The first thing that you can do is follow a timetable or a schedule for the entire year. If you have that target, if you should build up, you know, daily target, weekly targets, monthly targets, and 3 month targets. If you can work in this way, I think it becomes easier, quite easier. Nikki, you've asked the question like maybe it's a technical error or this question I have completed my inter and what I can do to crack the UPSC exam has come up 10 times. Just as I have discussed it in the earlier parts, if you are like there's still a couple of years for you to write this exam, start off newspaper reading and start off reading books, but be very disciplined in your school and college, and be a wholeheartedly involved in whatever activity of school or college you are in. Overall that will help to build up a lot of leadership skills. Right. Which pen should we use to write UPSC means? I used to use Trimax ke refills. The refill comes and you can detach the refill from the pen. So I used to write my mains exam, the entire, all my mains, my first mains, this mains. I wrote it in the UPSC का the Trimax refills and फिर उसमें ना pen का वो जो cap है वो भी लग जाता है उस refill में. If the weight of the refill is less, it used to make it easier for me to write very fast and the ink does not smudge. So Trimax pen ke refills was something that I used to write my mains answers. Okay. If one is falling two exams in parallel, like insurance, AO, and UPSC, in my case, how can I manage both? Just divide your time accordingly, I think. Try to cover up if there is any commonality in the syllabus, try to finish up that first and then decide for yourself which one is your priority according to time, according to financial independence goals, etc. Decide for yourself which part of it is going to be your priority, you know, and then which exam is your priority. Kabhi kabhi hota hai that I want this immediately, so not UPSC but some other exam is my priority. Arrange your priority in order and then accordingly you can go ahead and prepare and give more time accordingly to whichever exam you're writing. And then maybe 2 to 3 hours to the less priority wala exam, more number of hours to the greater priority exam, but then both can be balanced well. Okay, can you tell broad strategy how many days our polity or economy should be finished completely? If you're reading it for the first time, it might take somewhere around 15 days or 20 days also. But once you start your revisions, if you're done with it the first time, maybe 7 days is going to be a first round of revision. Then 5 days is going to be a second round of revision, so on and so forth. Right? So, with that, I see that we are almost at the close of all the questions that have been asked in the chat box, and I'm also at the close of the things that I wanted to share with all of you. It's been such a pleasure being able to talk to you, and I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity that I could interact with you. Um, I want to share a personal experience and anecdote. I often used to manifest doing this, right? कि मेरे को भी, you know, किसी felicitation में they'll give me the mic and I'll get to speak for a few minutes. Then there'll be topper talks and they'll call me and I'll say things like this. And manifestation does work, but manifest करके रुक नहीं जाना है. What happens in manifestation is when you visualize. Personally, मेरे लिए एक heights of visualization was निकल गया एग्जाम मेरे को मम्मी और पापा को because I used to live far away. I'm in Bangalore right now and my parents are in Kolkata. As soon as I got the results, I used to visualize this. I'm picking the phone up and I'm calling my parents and I'm telling them, "Ma baba clear होएगा छे." It's in Bengali. It means clear. It basically it means clear हो गया. And this was something which gave me such an immense push to work hard. There were times I cried my eyes out because I was in such dark place. Not everything is smooth, but then I used to think, close my eyes and visualize this. You know, I'm calling my parents and I'm telling them ki ho gaya clear. and that used to give me so much of a much required push and motivation to work hard. Similarly, मेरे study table के सामने there's this huge vision board that I had hung, and in that vision board I had actually put up images of the green benches of Labasna. Labasna में एक बहुत सुंदर सुंदर से ना green benches रहते हैं, तो I had put up that green bench because it's my dream, and I'll put up that image once I go to FC this year. My goal was to sit in that green bench in an excellent sari, and someone is clicking that picture. And मैंने अपने board vision board में वो empty green bench रख दिया था. Every time I used to feel demotivated, I used to look at that picture and strive to work so hard to complete that day's target. बस इतना ही करना है. डेली टारगेट्स कंप्लीट करो, इंक्रीमेंटल प्रोग्रेस पे फोकस करो, और आउटकम से जितना पॉसिबल हो डिटैच रहो. एंड आई टोल्ड यू फाइनल easy ways of doing it. Strategize your way in such a nice schematic so that you have no time to think about what if thoughts. तो दिमाग खराब नहीं होगा, what if thoughts नहीं आएंगे. You will be able to actively stay away from depressing moments in life, regarding this exam at least, है ना. So overall I think that is what I wanted to share with you. Another question has come up. 2026 is your target year. When to start preparation for UPSC? I think you can start. People start preparation for UPSC, I think, all their life. But if you want to, if you have a target of 26, you can start from now itself. Try to get done with your optional. Try to get into daily newspaper reading habits. Try to build up your reading habit of novels. All of this, try to build up a very good hobby like a sport or a musical instrument, anything. All of this helps cumulatively to boost your chances of getting good rank, right? So all the very best to all of you. I think that you've got this. You can do it. Just keep at it. And I'm so proud of all of you, because you've taken the decision of writing one of the challenging exams, and this exam transforms you as a person, and that transformation is beautiful. You become humble, you become someone who's not obsessed about results, you become someone you would want to become. Ideally, this is the mentality that you develop. I've heard people develop this mentality when they are in their mid 50s, right? So this exam is so beautiful in its entire process. That's why the first thing that I was asked to share is my UPSC journey. They call it journey because it's a journey through which I think you transform yourself also, है ना. So great. Value addition sources कहाँ से करने चाहिए? You have so many sources out there. You can choose, read up and choose which one is good for you. And I'm again, once and for all, thank you so much. Good night. Have a great evening. And tomorrow morning, it should be a full josh of preparation, which you should be looking into and carrying out your day. Right? Chalo. All the best. And yes, there's enough time for 2025. I've told this multiple times. See the video from the end, in beginning, you'll be able to address all of this. Okay, for now, by the way, I do not have a Telegram channel for now. I don't intend on creating a Telegram channel anytime soon, but I do have an Instagram channel. You can find me on Insta. It's Diya Dasgupta09. And I plan on putting up some doubt clearing questions on Insta regularly. And I also plan to share as many photos and videos I can from Labasna to keep your spirits high, to keep that Josh high, and to keep your ever never dying spirit of becoming an asset to the country high. Right? So you've got this. Jai Hind, and good luck for your exam.